Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. A Penguin Premiership player turned corporate heavyweight has now been handballed Team Tasmania's top job. Grant O'Brien will try to steer the new side through Mac Point's political maze while building a board and supporter base as the club's inaugural chair.
At the home of the two Blues, one man took the reins of Tasmania's AFL team.
This team has got a very deep history already, but it hasn't played a game. And we're going to fix that.
Once a Penguin Premiership player,
but a great mark's taken there by the young Grant O'Brien.
Grant O'Brien now needs to build his own champion team by choosing a board by the end of August. For that job, he'll have Richmond President Peggy O'Neill, incoming AFL boss Andrew Dillon, local businessman Errol Stewart and Sports Administrator Liz Jack helping to select who gets a Guernsey.
It's critical in the establishment phase that we get a skill-based board. In other words, those that have got the skills specifically to set it up, and it will include Tasmanians, there's no doubt about that.
A member of Tasmania's AFL task force and a former Woolworths CEO, O'Brien says the stadium plan checks out, while the league believes it's sold the benefits.
You want it in a first-class venue. You want to compete on the national stage, the international stage. You want concerts. You want things coming to Tasmania you haven't had. That only happens if you come into the 2023 and 2028 style venues, and deep down everyone knows it.
Key targets are becoming clearer too, with the team's name and colours to be settled upon soon, along with a start date in the VFL before Tasmania graduates to the big time in 2028. And with as many as 10,000 seats being put in here at Dial Park as part of a $25 million upgrade next year, AFL and AFLW here in Penguin has never felt so close.
I won't be able to show my face back here if that doesn't happen one day.
Turning every two blue into one-eyed supporters for Tasmanian colours. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government is facing further pressure from unions to make industrial manslaughter a crime. South Australia's government this week became the latest jurisdiction to introduce new laws. Unions Tasmania claims our state is lagging behind the nation on the issue.
The worst thing that can happen for a worker is very obviously a death at work. The government should want to prevent deaths at work just as much as we do.
Attorney General Elise Archer says manslaughter is already a criminal offence. She also confirmed Tasmania is involved in a national consultation process and will review their work before making any decisions. Empty classrooms have prompted claims Tasmania's extension schools aren't working efficiently. One school reported just a 20% attendance rate, with the Education Union demanding a review of the scheme.
Statewide, Year 11 and 12 is now in place, but filling seats is still a struggle.
There hasn't been a legitimate review to show the amount of money and resources that's been put into this program is actually working, and we want to make sure that the students are getting the best outcomes, but also the schools are as well. Attendance
was as low as 20.9% at New Norfolk High last year. At Deloraine High School, there's just 34% attendance, with 4 others recording below 50%.
If we're just providing programs that the students aren't passionate about, they don't want to be there for, then they're not going to turn up.
Schools with small enrolments can have their attendance rates fluctuate significantly, but the union says it's enough for the scheme to be reviewed.
We're working with schools where there are particular attendance issues, and we're working with individual students who may have fallen out of engagement with their school.
Since 2014, the retention rate from year 10 to 12 has risen from 70% to 76%. Many more students are staying in contact with schools. The challenge is keeping them attending.
Amongst them, there are young people who previously wouldn't have been going on to college and might not have been going on to apprenticeships either.
This government hasn't done the hard work to improve engagement in schools, to give kids foundational literacy and numeracy skills so that they can engage with the curriculum.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A coroner has slammed the Launceston General Hospital, claiming it did not keep some records of an 83-year-old who later died. Coroner Simon Cooper said the records were substandard and had a lack of transparency, which may have compromised treatment and made his investigation extremely difficult. The elderly woman presented with chest pain. The coroner says the records appear to indicate she was not treated by an experienced cardiologist. More than 200 years of loss and hardship have been laid bare with passionate scenes at a NAIDOC Week march in Launceston. Crowds shutting down the city centre as they called for traditional land to be returned. A warning for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, this following story may contain images of a deceased person.
What do we want? The message clear. More than 100 Aborigines and their supporters taking their fight to the streets, calling on the state government to hand back land they say is rightfully theirs.
Since our land was stolen by force from Aboriginal people, 200 years later, and we still have not, we've had a tiny bit of lands returned to Palawa people.
Today's passionate scenes echoing calls from the first land rights march through Launceston back in 1976.
Our elders, marched the streets back in the 70s when it wasn't popular to do so, or and they were kind of treated terribly and spat on and called names, but they had the guts to stand up for what they believe in.
It is extremely frustrating that the Palawa community are calling for the same things over and over again.
Turning the pressure up, the heat on the government to act.
Stop stalling, stop coming up with excuses and start doing the right thing and returning our lands because they're ours.
At the moment, the Aboriginal Lands Act doesn't provide a mechanism by which new land can be identified, proposed, assessed and approved to become Aboriginal land. That's what we're inserting into the legislation.
It's not just a day about looking back, also looking forward, moving towards reconciliation.
We do see the numbers of non-Aboriginal supporters, friends and allies growing in understanding and in their concept of justice and reconciliation. That is growing.
Celebrating this year's NAIDOC Week theme, For Our Elders.
I can't even put it into words how important they are in our community and the role they play.
Committed to truth-telling and treaty. Victoria Eastoe, 7 Tasmania News.
A man who allegedly stole a front-end loader and attempted to steal copper cable from Beaconsfield Mine has been charged. The incident occurred in March. A 22,000-volt power transformer was destroyed during the incident and power was only restored to the site last month. A 30-year-old St Leonard's man is facing criminal damage charges along with trespass, motor vehicle stealing and attempted stealing. The man was bailed to reappear next month. Climate change activists have joined forces across Tasmania today as federal and state energy ministers met in Devonport. Hydrogen was at the top of their agenda, while Chris Bowen hit out at the National Opposition leader, calling him worse than Scott Morrison.
Their message is clear.
No new gas. Let's just commit to green hydrogen, not fracking gas.
Climate change activists united in the north and the south as Tasmania welcomed National Energy and Climate Ministers to the state. Federal Minister Chris Bowen hitting back at Peter Dutton's calls today to ramp up nuclear power.
Peter Dutton as Prime Minister would be worse for the climate than Scott Morrison, and that takes some doing. The man who carried a lump of coal into the House of Representatives was better on climate than Peter Dutton.
But not taking his calls.
Excuse me. Don't know what that was. Peter Dutton, perhaps.
Meeting where the river meets the sea, Devonport's Parrinapple Centre to talk everything hydrogen.
Importantly, states and territories agreed with me that we will work together on the development of the country's new Net Zero 2050 plan.
State Minister Guy Barnett yesterday giving his colleagues a tour of the Lake Sathana power station.
750 megawatt pumped hydro project, which would be connected and directly relevant to Marinus Link, Battery of the Nation plans for Tasmania, and of course our plans for green hydrogen.
Tasmania can export it to the mainland, can only do that if there's more links between Tasmania and the mainland. The key to making Tasmania 200% renewable and all the jobs and investment that will create is Marinus Link.
No new announcements, but hopeful for progress ahead of November's meeting in Western Australia.
We cannot afford to go slow on fossil fuels.
Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
Book bargains are on offer this weekend at Princess Wharf No. 1 with the return of the annual Variety Monster Book Fair. More than 35,000 books are waiting for new owners, and the stack are priced at $1 per centimetre.
What I'm holding here is $10 for 10 books, so great value for kids these school holidays.
Kids books as well. There is religion, cooking, gardening, special interest, history, war books. There is pretty much something for everyone.
The money raised goes towards supporting Variety's programs working with vulnerable children. Tasmanians are being hit with a harsh reminder. Kununyi Mount Wellington has the power to kill anyone who tackles it unprepared. It comes ahead of a windy weekend, with meteorologists issuing a number of severe weather warnings.
It's a jaw-dropping attraction with a deadly chill. 9 hikers rescued from Kununyi Mount Wellington over the Queen's birthday long weekend last year.
They were hypothermic and almost incapable of walking. They'd lost shoes, their bodies are caked in ice and snow. They certainly would have perished that night.
Hoping to avoid a repeat of history, authorities are warning Tasmanians and tourists not to underestimate the mountain's quick changing conditions.
Every time you go up 100 metres, you lose a degree. So when you're thinking about a nice temperate climate in wintry Hobart, it can be a lot colder, particularly with the wind.
However, many people are still taking their chances against Mother Nature. 90 unprepared walkers hitching a lift down the slopes on the Explorer bus just last month.
We're not a rescue agency. Wear appropriate footwear, clothing, take food and fresh water, and tell everybody where you're going.
It will be another week before temperatures drop low enough to blanket the southeast summit in snow. However, strong winds up to 100 kilometres per hour are forecasted to sweep the state from tomorrow.
We have 2 severe weather warnings. There's one for damaging winds, and that's for north and north coast of Tasmania and the Bass Strait Islands. The other severe weather warning we have is for damaging surf, and that's for the northeast coast.
Members of the public are encouraged to stay informed via BOM's website. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Hundreds of dancers will take to a Hobart stage over the next 9 days for what's being described as their grand final. In its 44th year, the Southern Tasmanian Eisteddfod brings local dance schools together, testing what students have learned over the past year.
Stepping up for a spectacle of song and dance. For 9 days, the Rest Point Casino is a stage for Southern Tasmania's best young performers to be on point.
You get into it, and it's very fun to do.
Just a really nice community, and this 9 days just cements it all for them.
Family, friends and dancing experts watching on today as the Southern Tasmania Eisteddfod hit the floor. One of the largest of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Students and teachers are put through their paces.
I have over 100 solo students going over on stage performing their solos, which we've worked on for a whole year.
They work hard for this event, and they do get to go on stage.
The number's enough to give you sore feet. More than 2,100 acts from nearly 30 different dance schools will pass across the eyes of judges.
We work all year to bring them all together.
I do push-ups and sit-ups and then stretch.
There'll be plenty of twists and turns. All styles and formats are catered for, from jazz to ballet right through to tap.
It's really easy, and you get to it makes more noise. That it's really easy and it makes lots of noise.
For all the prizes on offer, organisers say everyone is a winner for having a go.
It's a lovely competition. The children are beautiful, they're friendly, they're happy.
We're always so proud of everyone getting on stage and performing and representing our school and doing the best that they can do.
It makes me happy when I see my friends.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian audiences in for a different kind of winter treat with a new circus coming to town. 4 daring acrobats, a charismatic comedian and a tech wizard will put their bodies and spirits on the line for Interloper. The family affair will hit the road, making stops in Launceston and Hobart, promising to wow crowds, immersing them into the world of performance magic.
There's a lot of diving through hoops and group numbers. We take a few things you might be familiar with, such as cups of tea and brooms, and we give them a bit of a cheeky twist.
I think one of the things that really shines in this show is just the complicity and the joy and the love we all have for spending time together.
Show will spin into action with the curtain raising at the Theatre Royal on Thursday before bringing the fun to Launceston on July 20.
In the WSL, Launceston United is hoping to break a mid-season slump with a win this week. Their title hopes have taken a hit with just one win in 4 matches, leaving them 10 points behind ladder leader South Hobart. Facing Clarence tomorrow, they're focusing on tightening a leaky defence.
It's that sort of middle of the year, everything's getting a bit crazy outside of soccer. So I think we're just looking back to getting solid at the back.
Launceston City won't be taking crosstown rival United lightly, despite them being winless after 12 matches in the NPL.
We've got a few good players that can create chances and do special things, so it's not like it's a walk in the park. We definitely prepare for them like we would every other game.
Kick-off is at 2 p.m. on Sunday afternoon at Birch Avenue. And with cricket's spirit of the game debate raging, tonight's Friday Flashback is to when Tasmania's own Ricky Ponting fell victim to some dodgy English tactics. Who could forget 2005's Ashes when a substitute fielder famously ran out the Aussie captain in a series which had it all? After Edgbaston's infamous 2-run loss in the second test,
despair on the faces of the batsmen,
and a match-saving knock from Ricky Ponting in the third, not unlike what we saw from Mitch Marsh last night.
Well, that's a beautiful shot, and that is Ricky Ponting's 100. Well played, skipper.
The turning point of the 05 Ashes came in the 4th test at Trent Bridge. Ponting was threatening to be game changer once again. Enter little-known 12th man, Gary Pratt.
Quick. Oh, he's gone, I think.
Oh, he's well gone. Gary Pratt is the boy on high.
Ponting was livid. The problem? Gary Pratt was a specialist fielder and never a serious replacement for those in the first 11, something seemingly bending the spirit of the game. From there, the campaign collapsed, sending the English dizzy with excitement.
Not been badged yet, and behind these glasses tells 1,000 stories.
It only caused an Ashes hangover as Ponting went from villain to hero once again, leading Australia to a 5-0 whitewash on home soil 18 months later.
Oh, there it is.
Swapping the champagne, celebrations and the urn to Aussie hands. Because we like to finish our flashbacks on a high, Kim.
Sure do, go the Aussies. Thank you, Tom.
Good evening. 15 in Hobart today, Launceston, Devonport and Burnie all 14. Friendly Beaches, the Friday top at 16, St Helens 15, King Island, Wynyard Ooze and Flinders Island all 14, Lyawini 8. Mostly cloudy across the state today with some patchy fog this morning, a cloud band lying off the west coast. Overhead cloud covering parts of Tasmania and Victoria with a low over the central bight, the rest of the country remaining relatively clear. A cold front approaching from the west will cross the state tomorrow morning, while a trough approaches western Tasmania. North to northwesterly winds of 30 to 40 knots, reaching up to 45 about the north in the morning. Swells building up to 8 metres in the west and up to 5 in the south and the north. And with that, a gale wind warning has been issued for most coastal waters. Strong winds for the lower east coast and southwest lakes. There is a severe weather warning for damaging winds around the northern half of the state and Bass Strait. Damaging surf for parts of the Furneaux Islands, northeast and the central north. There's also a street graziers alert for most districts and an initial flood warning for the North Esk River. Showers in the south tomorrow, Hobart 14, Maydena 10, 11 at Oatlands. Showers and windy in Launceston. A very windy day for Devonport. Showers and 13, Lyawini 5. Burnie and Marrawar, showers and windy. Possible heavy falls for Strawn. Showers and 13 for St Helens, Swansea and Orford both 14 and a shower or 2. That wet weather will stick around all weekend and into next week with more statewide showers on Sunday. Showers about the west and Bass Strait on Monday, extending to the north throughout the day. And those showers will start to ease come Tuesday with some wet weather for the west. Sunny in Brisbane tomorrow, showers and windy for Melbourne and Adelaide, 18 and showers in Perth, 34 the top for Darwin. Right now in Hobart, it's partly cloudy and 9, Launceston also night, and some drizzle for Devonport. That's all for now, Kim.
And that is all your news for this Friday. Good night, everyone.